You are drinking at 8 a.m. in the morning. You know, it's so typical of you. At the slightest inconvenience, you go back to your first love, alcohol.
You don't know what I am going through.
Don't know what you are going through. I am the one with a husband that can't perform, yet you are the miserable one.
This movie begins with Sodineye and Pearl, a couple who are deeply in love with each other. Sodineye can't stop singing his fiancé's praises. He's completely head over heels for her. Pearl admits that Sodineye always has a way with words, and she feels her heart flutter every time he calls her Pearl baby. Despite this display of love and affection, their marriage counselor tries to remind them that marriage isn't just a bed of roses. It requires effort. However, these lovebirds are too wrapped up in each other to pay attention to her words. They are so absorbed in their own little world that they can't even comprehend what the counselor is saying. Eventually, the two get married, and on their wedding day, their friends, Auta and Binta, surprise them with an all-expense-paid honeymoon trip. If there's such a thing as a bed of roses, this is it for them. They are deeply in love and can't bear to be apart for even a second. This is pure romance. What could possibly go wrong? Their journey to 3A Harmony Villa, where they will spend the first 3 weeks as a married couple, begins. Upon arriving at the resort, everything seems perfect, suggesting that it will be the ideal honeymoon destination. Inside, they absolutely adore the place. Sodineye is immediately captivated by the antiques used to decorate the space, and he is thoroughly impressed by the villa's interior design. As he continues to look around the place, he discovers a mysterious box in a drawer. Driven by curiosity, he attempts to open it, but unfortunately, it is locked. Soon, he forgets about the box and focuses on enjoying his honeymoon with his wife. Before getting married, Sodineye and Pearl decided to wait until after their vows to become intimate. Now, they finally have that chance, and Sodineye can hardly believe that waiting 3 years was worth it. The two spend the entire day wrapped up in each other, unable to spend even a moment apart. However, tension rises when a man named Osas comes knocking on their door. He is the owner of the villa and has come with gifts to welcome the couple to the villa. Upon seeing this man, Pearl suddenly feels uncomfortable. She even avoids making eye contact with him. It's just a harmless visit from the resort owner, so why does Pearl act as if the room has suddenly become stuffy? After the resort owner's awkward visit, things take a turn for the worse, as trouble arises in paradise. Sodineye is struggling to connect with Pearl intimately. He feels a lack of intrigue around her, and Pearl is growing increasingly frustrated after multiple failed attempts at intimacy. Sodineye desperately needs help, and the only person he can think of is his friend, Auta. He grabs his phone and calls Auta, his tone reflecting the urgency of the situation. Responding to his friend's cry for help, Auta arrives at the villa with his wife, Binta. Pearl is thrilled to see her friend Binta, and the two immediately head to the kitchen, leaving the two men alone in the living room. Once alone, Sodineye begins to express his frustrations to Auta. The situation is more serious than Auta had imagined. He is shocked to learn that Sodineye is struggling to become intimate with his wife during their honeymoon. He mentions that the timing couldn't be worse for such an issue. Sodineye is even more frustrated by the fact that his wife thinks she's the problem, and as a doctor, Auta offers to take some samples from Sodineye, as he has vials in his car. He also advises Sodineye to avoid red meat, sugary foods, and fried items for the time being. Sodineye appreciates his friend's support, feeling relieved now that Auta is there to help him. But on the other hand, Pearl and Binta are busy in the kitchen. Binta tries to engage her friend in small talk, but notices Pearl seems lost in thought. Concerned, she asks what's bothering her, and that's when Pearl opens up. This honeymoon, just a few days in, already feels anticlimactic. It's not living up to her expectations at all. Binta wonders why her friend feels this way and is left speechless when Pearl reveals that Sodineye hasn't been aroused for the past 3 days. Binta begins to make suggestions and even advises Pearl to try a different approach to their intimacy, like normalizing watching explicit content together. Pearl immediately declines, stating that it goes against her morals, beliefs, and everything she stands for. Binta playfully teases Pearl about her faith, but they both laugh it off. Eventually, they decide to head back into the living room to join the guys, so they don't think they are gossiping. As the days pass, the couple continues to struggle with intimacy. Things take a turn for the worse when Pearl attempts a lap dance to arouse her husband, but then it results in an embarrassing situation for both of them. This is a significant issue, and they desperately need a solution. Soon after, Aota returns with Sodineya's test results, but unfortunately, the news is not good. It turns out that Sodineya has a rare case of erectile dysfunction. To complicate matters further, due to its rarity, there hasn't been enough research conducted to offer a remedy. Pearl tries to be supportive, but Sodineya does not handle the news well. He experiences a mix of emotions: rage, embarrassment, and frustration. He ultimately storms out, yelling and screaming about the point of a honeymoon if a couple can't share intimacy. As time goes on, Sodineya becomes sullen and cold. However, there are more twists to this tale. It turns out that Mr. Osas, the owner of the resort, is Pearl's ex, which explains the awkward tension between them during their last encounter. Pearl confides in Binta about her situation, and Binta is just enjoying the drama. She's shocked by how dramatic her friend's honeymoon has become, and she's here for all the tea. The two cross paths one day while Pearl is out for a morning run. Osas is grieving the tragic loss of his father, and Pearl offers him emotional support. He appreciates her kindness and in return, offers his support should she need anything in the future. With each passing day, the couple continue to struggle with intimacy issues in their relationship. In an attempt to spark interest, Sodineya tries to intrigue Pearl with toys, but she immediately declines. Sodineya understands Pearl's frustration and is doing the very best he can. But still, desperate to make their relationship work, they resort to role-playing. However, despite their efforts, things continue to fall apart and nothing seems to improve their situation. Due to the underlying tension between them, sharing the same space becomes challenging. The two begin to irritate each other and can hardly tolerate one another's presence. They argue constantly, fighting over the smallest and silliest matters. It raises the question, is this really meant to be their happily ever after? This is not what they portrayed in the movies, so Sodineya is starting to feel like he's losing his wife. He suspects her of infidelity, especially since he often sees her smiling at her phone. Unbeknownst to him, Pearl and Osas have become oddly close, with Osas being the one making her blush over the phone. In an effort to prevent his marriage from falling apart so soon, Sodineya asks Pearl out on a date. He has always been skilled with words and knows how to make his wife's heart flutter, so he manages to convince her to join him.
Mr. Chalma.
Perhaps this date is exactly what they need to remind themselves of why they fell in love in the first place. Sodineya, successful at flattering his wife, and Pearl, with her charm that sweeps her husband off his feet, enjoy a night together, holding hands and lost in each other's gaze. However, things start to go downhill again. It's almost as if Sodineya can't do anything right for more than 30 seconds. I mean, hence the erectile dysfunction, right? Although, the night begins well. He inadvertently spoils it by making a silly comment about a passerby. Pearl gets offended and stands up to leave, and as Sodineya tries to stop her, Pearl notices something. Her husband is standing in front of her with a boner. Pearl is utterly confused and furious. At home, she takes out her rage on her husband. Since they arrived for their honeymoon, she has tried endlessly to get him aroused. But now, he suddenly becomes interested when a random woman walks past him. Sodineya tries to defend himself, claiming that he can't control his reactions and doesn't understand why it happened like that. He feels hurt watching his wife transform into a completely different person. After she leaves him, he is left alone with a bottle of alcohol, in tears and wallowing in his misery. Pearl is feeling frustrated with God despite having remained moral throughout her youth and choosing to stay celibate until marriage to honor God. Here she is in a marriage she can't enjoy because her husband suffers from an erectile dysfunction. In a heartfelt soliloquy, Pearl expresses her emotions through tears, pleading and begging with God to resolve her situation. As Pearl continues to plead with God, the devil comes knocking. Of course, she receives a text from Osas, who claims to be feeling lonely and needs someone to talk to. Perhaps the wisest decision is not to visit the house of your ex late at night, especially right after desperately praying for God to fix your marriage. Once in Osas's apartment, the two get talking, and of course, seeing Pearl's emotional and vulnerable state, he takes advantage of the situation. He seduces her, and it appears to be that Pearl is falling right into his trap. Still trying to make things work between them, Sodineya tirelessly begs his wife for forgiveness, and what begins as an attempt at an apology quickly escalates into a heated argument. Initially, their disagreement resembles that of teenagers, with both yelling at the top of their lungs over trivial matters. However, the situation becomes serious when Pearl accidentally calls her husband by the name Osas. Sodineye demands an explanation from Pearl, unable to overlook the fact that she referred to him by the resort owner's name. His anger intensifies when Pearl confesses that he had visited Osas the previous night. Sodineye's eyes turn red with rage and sweat drips down his face, amplifying the fury etched on his expression. Infuriated, Sodineye storms out and heads straight to Osas's apartment. Once there, things escalate physically. Without any warning, Sodineye throws a punch at Osas, creating a tense scene. It is now revealed that the previous night, Osas had only tried to get intimate with Pearl but was unsuccessful. Osas refuses to stand by and lets Sodineye attack him. He defends himself and with one punch knocks Sodineye down to the floor. Pearl rushes Sodineye home and applies ice to his wounds. She feels embarrassed and upset that her husband resorted to violence at Osas's place. If he wanted to express his feelings, he could have done so with words instead of throwing punches. At this point, Pearl is already considering a divorce. Sodineye is also feeling exhausted by the whole situation. Just 2 weeks into their marriage, he feels like he's losing his mind. The couple eventually sits down to talk things over, and Sodineye asks for a chance to make things right between them. Once again, Sodineye's charm and charisma manage to melt Pearl's heart. The two reconcile and work towards making the rest of their honeymoon enjoyable, resolving not to be at each other's throats every moment. One day, the couple decides to open the gift that Osas gave them. They discover that it contains a key to a mysterious chest. That box. Curious about what it might hold, they eagerly unlock the chest, and inside, they find a collection of fascinating love letters written by a couple from long ago. Pearl and Sodineye are intrigued and spend hours reading the enchanting love story of the couple. The tale follows a pair separated by war, as the man serves as a soldier. Throughout his deployment, they write letters to each other, desperately awaiting the day they will be reunited. Eventually, the soldier returns from service and the couple joyfully reunites. The heartwarming tale of romance captivates Pearl and Sodineye, leaving them in awe. During the course of this, the couple has learned an important lesson. Their intimacy and love extend beyond what they share in the bedroom. They cherish one another and see each other for more than just their physical appearances. To remind themselves of the reason they got married in the first place, Sodineye suggests that they retake their vows. Hearing their vows reignites the love they have for each other, and the spark that seemed to fade suddenly comes alive again. It turns into a romantic moment as they share a kiss under the moonlight. However, their yearning for each other soon intensifies, leading them to find themselves in their room. Locked in this passionate moment, Pearl's joy knows no limit when she discovered that her husband is aroused. After weeks of struggling, the couple finally get intimate. The couple's honeymoon comes to an end and they feel closer than ever. As they pack their bags and prepare to leave, Sodineye steps away for a moment. He wants to make a quick stop at Osas's apartment. Once there, Sodineye sarcastically thanks Osas for breaking up with Pearl. He claims that if Osas hadn't done so, he wouldn't have met his now wife. He expresses gratitude for the beautiful resort where they spent their honeymoon, noting that the experience has taught them invaluable lessons that will strengthen their relationship. Before leaving, he warns Osas to erase Pearl's contact information from his phone. This twisted love story concludes with the couple departing from the resort more united and resilient, having learned many valuable lessons along the way. And that brings us to the end of Once Upon a Honeymoon.